Okay, I'm going to go over what I run on my Scourge for Istan. I use full Viper gear on everything. Um, I already had those stats. You can use full Berserker. I have a full Berserker set. I tried it out. It's fine. Um, there's just a couple differences to the builds, but each work fine. You'll get plenty of tags. Um, for this one, these are the traits. This will send two conditions whenever you use this shade skill. This reduces the cooldown on your corruption skills, and you'll mainly be using Epidemic and Blood is Power. So one thing to note is if you do use this trait, it adds on another condition that it'll put on you instead of an enemy. So just watch out for that. If you're wondering why you have a bunch of conditions on you, that is why. I wouldn't recommend it, but if you don't want to deal with that, you can take this trait and just do slightly more damage whenever you fear something. I take this trait for the self-heal from all your conditions. It's really useful in Istan. You can solo pretty much anything. If you stack enough conditions, you won't ever die. For max damage, just take this. Next line is Soul Reaping. This just buffs your shade skills. Let's see. This will make your marks on your staff. Everything that isn't your auto attack. It'll give you a little bit of life force and it makes them unblockable. This gives you more health and reduces your shade skills, which is very nice. And this skill you can, or this trait rather, you can take either one of these. This just makes whenever you place your shade somewhere, it'll put burning on the enemy, and this gives you a flat 50% increase to your crit chance, but it's only when you use this shade skill, and the duration is 6 seconds, so it's whatever you want to take. The last trait line is Scourge. This just buffs your torch skills and gives you condition duration based on your condition damage. This is a buff to your shade skill whenever you use a punishment skill. You don't have to use this, but the other ones aren't super useful, so I just take it. Since I almost always use these two punishment skills, I can proc that more often than not. And this is probably the most important trait to take. It turns your small shades into one large shade and reduces the cooldown for the actual shade skill, so you can move it around a lot. Taking this lets you tag a lot more stuff and cover a lot more area, especially at Achille. This can cover like 1/3 of the spawn, and then you just mark up the rest. That's pretty much it. That's all I do for Achille. Just recast the shade once stuff comes, and if all your marks are down, you can move the shade around. This is just straight. This is a straight damage trait. So if you're doing something like, if you have the time before a burial, swap to that, and you'll do more damage, as long as you can keep your smaller shade on a burial. For weapons, for full Vipers, I recommend Scepter and Torch. You'll always want Staff on swap for Achille. And Scepter, what is this? Scepter Torch is good for everything else for tagging champs and stuff. The Sigil of Frenzy is very useful in Istan because you're pretty much always killing something, so you'll get a lot of use out of that. It's very nice for tagging with your shade skills because they'll always be off cooldown. If you're gonna go the power route, I would recommend Axe. Let me see. Is this? No, that's the melee one. So if you're gonna do Axe, I would recommend Axe Focus. Actually, Axe Focus sucks. Focus sucks. Take Warhorn offhand for the CC. The focus is just useless pretty much. For skills, I would recommend either this. It gives a heal and a barrier. It's very useful. The only other one I'd recommend is this. It'll eat all of the conditions on you, and then you can just cleanse the vulnerability and or blind with your F2 shade skill. I take Epidemic to tag stuff during Amala and Achille. You can take whatever you want. I take Grasp for the CC and for pulling stuff. I would highly recommend keeping this skill and not swapping it out for CC on Amala. If you do swap it out, I would use this for more CC. Or you could drop Blood is Power. I take this. They recently changed it so it has 2 uses instead of 1, and you can stack the bleed. And for the elite skill, you can take whatever you want, but for Amala, I would highly recommend taking the Flesh Golem for the CC on Amala. You can never have enough. Like, her bar stays up way too long, so the more CC, the better. I think that's everything. Let me see. I want to traits, skills, equipment. Yeah, that's it.